Estate planning is the process of putting documents in place so that people that you love can make decisions for you if something happens to you and you're not able to do so, or when you pass away, who's to get your stuff. Most attorneys and most people make the mistake of thinking that estate planning is a one-time event, but it's really a journey. It should change, and your plan should be flexible enough to change as your life's circumstances change. So for example, if you are a young married couple and you have children, your primary concerns are probably who would get our children if something were to happen to us. If you don't have a plan in place that tells the world who you want to do that, then a court makes decisions about that. And it may not be the people that you want to get your children. On the other hand, if you're in your peak earning years, or maybe you recently got divorced, then you need a plan that's flexible so that you can make changes. And then if you're in retirement, then your main concern is not going to be about who gets your children when you pass away, but who's going to get your assets, and are your assets going to be significant enough to pay for long-term care costs? I mean, long-term care costs are the biggest risk to your nest egg and to your home, and part of estate planning when you get to be that age is putting a plan in place to ensure that you have adequate funds from which to pay for long-term care. So again, it's really a journey and not a one-time event. The other thing that's important to realize is that estate planning is not about documents. Although we certainly have to draw up documents in order to put your plan in place, the real issue is to make sure that those documents reflect your wishes and solve your goals and objectives. It's not a one-size-fits-all proposition. When you go to a doctor's office, although there's several people there in the same waiting room waiting to see the same doctor, chances are no two people there have the same ailment or disorder. Estate planning is the same way. Your circumstances are different from your neighbors, different from your brothers or sisters, and so your plan needs to reflect your goals and objectives, and again, be flexible enough to change as your life's circumstances change. The main documents that we use in estate planning are a durable power of attorney, an advance directive for health care, and a last will and testament or trust. So a durable power of attorney is a document you sign to give someone else the authority to make financial decisions if you're not able to do so. Cash checks, pay bills, sell real estate, access retirement accounts, and things like that. If you don't have that and something happens to you, then your loved ones have to go to the court to get authority to act, and the court then makes decisions about what happens to your property. The second document you need is an advance directive for health care. So that's a two-part document. Part one is called a living will, where you put your wishes in writing about whether you would or would not want to be on a feeding tube or respirator or something like that if you were terminally ill or injured or permanently unconscious. You make those decisions ahead of time in writing so that if that ever happens, then those decisions have been made and you relieve your family of that heavy burden. The second part of the document, which is not something that everyone has and it's just as important, is a medical power of attorney. That document gives someone the authority to make medical decisions if you're not able to do so. So you may develop dementia or Alzheimer's or in some other way become incapacitated or incompetent, and if you're not able to make medical decisions, then you're going to need someone else to be able to do that, and most people prefer that a loved one do it rather than a court. The third document you need is a last will and testament, which says what happens to the things that you own just in your name when you pass away. And you can also use a revocable living trust to do that. There are other benefits to revocable living trusts, but both trusts and wills are ways to dispose of your assets when you pass away. If you don't have an estate plan and something happens to you, then your family has to go to the probate court and get the court involved in whatever issue is there. So if you become incapacitated and you need someone to make medical decisions, the court has to do it. If you need someone to make financial decisions, your family member has to go to the courthouse and get the judge's approval on everything that you do. If you pass away without a will, you also run the danger that someone that you don't want getting your assets is going to get them. So you have to be very careful about that as well. I work with families every day, and the ones whose relatives have not put any plan in place have to deal with a whole lot more grief than just the loss of the relative. They're having to deal with the complete failure to have a plan, and it's much more burdensome, time-consuming, and a whole lot more expensive. So again, estate planning is not a one-time event. It's a journey. Your plan needs to be flexible. The documents you choose to use and how those are set up really depend on your goals and objectives. If you have any questions about that, we are more than happy to sit down with you, figure out what you're trying to accomplish, and help you put a plan in place that solves your goals and objectives, just like we have for many other families just like yours.